bring everyone back from a city. But yes, it could be like peer-to-peer learning from peri-urban to peri-urban, rural to rural, town to town. Definitely, there can be a lot of cross learning or building systems. There's a lot of large infrastructure which is bad, like the trunk infrastructure being built around. But if there were systems built around it through the rural areas that support their livelihoods, yeah, that could definitely help.
Actually, that's a very good point, because tactical urbanism is sort of a term we've inherited. But what I propose is we have also strategic rurbanism, which really will solve a lot of the problems of the city. Because if we provide some of the amenities of the urban area in rural areas and preserve the ecology, we won't need tactical urbanism. So strategic rurbanism is a priority for us. I would like to ask Ryan, you mentioned Singapore as a model you admire, but a lot of Singapore is actually built on sand mined from rivers in Cambodia. So there is an erosion of rivers in Cambodia because it's imported into Singapore. And the ecology and the whole ecosystem of Cambodia is being destroyed. So while Singapore water bodies remain pristine, it's at the expense of a poorer neighboring country. And where's the ethics in that? Wonder if you have a comment.
I think I'm learning that's a very Indian thing, that when you bring up something good, someone brings up the opposite of it that's bad. And I think that's a lot of why we're stuck here, because I don't think Singapore is perfect. The guy who did all that stuff was a dictator too. So it's not perfect in that sense at all. When I went back from Singapore to my city, I told them about the green building program there, which is called Lush 3. And they said, but Ryan, Singapore has all this water, and that's why they can grow those plants. Okay, one, Singapore is in a water crisis. Two, those are air plants. They're epiphytes. They don't take water. So we don't need to look at what's wrong in things. It's what can we take and learn, and let's lead away. There's a Ghananese term of Sankofa, which means looking to our past for the good and bring it into the future. And I think that's the benefit of the cross-collaboration that we have, all the global case studies we have access to, is let's bring forth the good and let's leave out the bad.
Any other question you have? Urmi.
Hi, I wanted to take on what PK Das also spoke about in the keynote, that there is a danger when we start talking about placemaking. There are many places like what we saw in Udupi and in Mangalore itself. They are blessed with a certain pristine of nature. And when we come here with the aspirations of placemaking with a single way of looking at things, the architects and urban planners have this way of cleaning up things and making it completely pristine, and we have a certain image which either comes from the West or from the developed countries, and we all aspire towards those images, and there is a huge danger in doing that. So at least when we come to places like this, I think we should also talk about place keeping, because otherwise we are transferring those aspirations to the people who are witnessing our entire event in terms of, oh, something is wrong when there is nothing wrong. So, we should not look at making when something is not broken. And rather than that, just keeping what we already have. Like, this place has so much to offer. And just keeping it the way it is and not looking towards what is considered as progressive or considered as development. I mean, here you already have it. We don't have it. And so that is where we have to change the narratives when we as placemakers go to different places. Maybe along the way, when we understand that place, we should start changing those narratives and talking to the people.
sort of very quickly add one aspect to what she said. So therefore, what's very important is mapping and open data. Often data is manufactured by the government to suit certain decision-making principles. It is through collaborative effort we produce local data and we do mapping. So we begin to recognize what exists at a place and the strength of those assets, particularly the natural areas.
Natural areas.
So just to add to this point, I mean, we were having this discussion way back, right here, is also about value systems. In a sense, Nano failed because it wasn't a bad car. They failed because it was positioned incorrectly. And so I believe in terms of when we talk about smaller cities and people wanting to migrate to bigger cities, the benefits of smaller cities and that also needs to be built far more and talked about, and instead of only Mumbai, Delhi and those case studies and in the movies and in the common discourses, we're always talking about the bigger cities. So how do we get, and we were just having this discussion right now here, the quality of life that you get here is far better, but we are not talking about it. So a lot of these young people will want to go out, and that's a challenge. It's also a challenge, I guess, for maybe the advertising, the branding, and start talking about it.
I'd also like to add one more thing. Everybody's adding one more thing to the same issue. I recently came across a GIF somebody had prepared and posted on social media that if all the urbanized areas in India had similar density like Delhi, the urban area would cover only 4.5% of the country's landmass. Can you imagine if all the people lived on 4.5% of land, how pristine and nice the rest of the area would be, 95.5% of it would be. So I think urban density and high-rise living, those are not necessarily ills. As architect PK does say, if we come up with a sustainable way of living in densely populated areas, people won't, people would have the choice of living in dense areas or areas that are open and pristine. And it's not about the lifestyle choice.
No, I just wanted to add to the whole point of contextualization and understanding the local sense. I mean, as much as the mapping and not really touching upon destroying things, I think what is also crucial is to primarily hear what the people have to say from that place, right? Unless you're not hearing and listening to the stories and what they feel and what they need, and us coming as experts and trying to do something which is too alien, I think becomes quite crucial. So on that note, I mean, the fact that all of us have been just speaking a lot since yesterday, and the fact that we have people from the city and or rather working here I was really keen to hear from them, just to understand what they feel about Mangalore, what is that really appeals to them. May or may not be through the lens of placemaking, but just as simple as them being residents of this place. It would be really nice to hear from them.
They're going to be next. So, sorry, I didn't get your name. Rajiv. Rajiv is very curious to hear about people who are living in Mangaluru and who plan to live here. What are your thoughts on the discussions here, and what are your ideas for what Mangaluru should be and can be? Does anyone want to talk about it? I would also like to add that this group, many of them will be joining us this afternoon. So there will be possibilities to discuss one-on-one and in smaller breakout groups.
Hi, my name is Venki, and I'm a local. So this is my first exposure to placemaking. And I was looking at all the definitions of placemaking that you guys are speaking about, and I'm wondering, is placemaking a problem-solving exercise? Is it eventually comes down to that? Now, all of you have come to Mangalore, and you're looking at Mangalore and looking at how to make it, how to create a better quality of life for everyone here. So what is it that you see in Mangalore that is a problem? What have you identified before coming? Have you identified what Mangalore needs? And are you speaking exactly on what Mangalore needs? Or is it, are you using other formulas here? What is it that is there here? Because Mangalore is a very small place. Mangalore, Udupi are all small places. You could say that each one is an urban center without boundaries, because between Udupi and Mangalore is one continuous set of villages and small towns and hamlets, which actually is one single district. So over the years, I'm sure we are going to grow into one big megapolis right from here to. And there are a huge amount of issues that we will face as we go from a small urban center to a large urban center. Mangalore, Udupi has this issue of flight of talent, because our boys, as soon as they pass out, the first thing that our boys, our boys, as soon as they pass out from here, one of the first things they do is get out of town, because better job opportunities and things like that. So Mangalore's population, if you look at the government census, over the last 10-15 years, it has been hovering between 6 to 8 lakh, about 7 lakh plus minus. So it's not that Mangalore itself, it's not that Mangalore itself is just 7 lakh. It is the hinterland that is around Mangalore that's feeding people here. Okay. So Mangalore that way, Mangalore, Udupi are both very, very similar, small towns. And when I was just out of college, and over the years, as my friends went abroad, as my friends went to Bombay, Delhi for better job prospects, I would think that I should have gone there too. Wow, these guys are making real big bucks. But then the quality of life I see that we have today here is much, much better than what those guys in Bangalore or Bombay have. So we are really happy to be here. And today, in 2022, we are a totally connected world. So I don't think there's anything that I miss in form of communication, facilities, or any kind of thing, because everything is available, we have reached a sort of a equitable solution where I can get anything. I just step out of the road, I can get what I want. It was not the case 20 years back. So while Mangalore and the Dakshin Kannada is Kundapur, Udupi, Mangalore along the coast, and we have a beautiful coastline, we have fantastic rivers. From here to Udupi, you go across about 20 bridges here to Kundapur. Because all those bridges, that means there are so many rivers which are passing by. So it's a beautiful place. We have the Ghats, Western Ghats on one side, we have the beach on one side. So we have this strip of land between the hills and the sea. It's a blessed land, really. And we being locals, we have our own problems. We look at, I'm involved in a couple of the smart. We are trying to solve urban issues here. We're trying to solve small things, problems at local levels. But I would really like to know what you guys look at Mangalore and what are the problems here? What have you seen is what I would like to know. I think what a lot of us would like to know.
Well, the local has spoken. And it seems like we don't have to workshop anything. So can we get started on beers earlier this afternoon then, Vinita? So she's giving me a cue to wrap up, right? We have one last session. One more? Very short. You promise.
I'm very I don't make a mess of I want to ask Ryan where we can find references about permaculture.
Sure. So if you wanted to learn more about permaculture, you can read that book, The Permaculture User's Guide, but also it's set up in the way, just like you said, peer-to-peer learning networks. So there's several demonstration sites around the world where you can go and learn for 72 hours at the sites how all the systems work by actually seeing them, interacting with them, and building them. So I've done 2 permaculture design certificate courses, one in the deserts of the US and then one recently in the jungles of Costa Rica. So I highly recommend, if you're really interested, go to one of those sites and do a 2-week, 72-hour course and get certified so you can design using nature in your projects. Just like you showed us yesterday at the River Cities Alliance, some of the work that amazing work you guys are doing. I think that needs to happen much, much more.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about how it's not just about growing and digging up dirt, but it's a thinking, like how it changes how you think? Just like very, very quickly, because a lot of people are not familiar with it. Because when you say permaculture, they're thinking you're getting your hands dirty in mud, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah, it's really just working with the mechanics of nature as your co-designer and your collaborator to minimize the inputs. And then it's the idea that there is no waste. Every resource can be used for something. And so whatever you see in front of you, think of it as a positive resource for creating the changes you want to see. And that every resource has multiple uses. Just like in placemaking, we talk about mixed use and the diversity of collaboration that comes from having a density of things together. These are some of the core concepts.
I'd like to define it. I haven't taken any courses, but I'm very, very interested in it. I think permaculture is a state of mind. So, yeah, thank you for that. So, Vinita, should we wrap up now? And of course, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. I was just gonna wrap up this session. I'll be inviting you, sir. Okay. So I'm hoping that this is a great start for fueling more discussions throughout the day, and we're going to be having interactions with the city of Mangaluru and the visitors here from Placemaking X conference. Thank you everyone for that very engaging conversation. I would like to thank Nirmithi, Kendra for giving this wonderful venue to have these discussions. And I'd like to invite Mr. Rajendra Kalbavi to really talk about the idea of how this space was set up, and he's going to give you a quick overview of what they do here and how they do that. Thank you. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much, friends. I'm not going to give I have not studied any placemaking, but we have worked with the architects and contractors in the placemaking in the heart of the city.